below zero hits us in life. Built for the cold, you say? That ain't right. Too cold for the average Joe, just right for those who hear the show. In the image of greatness you were made, but taught by the world to be played. A new generation, we're building. No victims, we're creating. Them haters, keep hating, cause Gen Zero, we blazing.
You ever get that phone call, that request to meet, that, announcement that you've been anticipating, whether it's being promoted or making a team, and then it just doesn't happen? Or even worse, you've poured all this energy, work, sweat, equity, tears, everything just to have this goal happen. And not only do you not hit the goal, but then you get demoted. Welcome to another episode of the Built for the Cold podcast. Too cold for the average Joe, just right for me and the listeners of this show, where everything that is too hard for others becomes our beginning. That's our playing ground. That's where we thrive. So to recap real quick, I know we've covered two of the D's so far. We've covered death and we've covered disease. So this is going to be a little less morbid today. We're going to talk about different areas where we may have felt we've gotten demoted in life or dismissed. You could have been cut from a team. I know there's a lot of younger listeners to this show. You could have been, waiting for that first job, like right out of school, only for it not to happen. That's one of my stories. Or all of a sudden you pour all this time and energy into a company you've been a part of. You thought you were going to retire with the company. You thought you were going to put everything in. And there's one day, just despite everything you've done, poof, it's gone. So I'm going to run through everything that I've overcome as far as this topic is concerned. Now, keep in mind, remember the timelines in the background, all the disease, all the death that's going on. That's happening simultaneously as these things are going on. So I'm going to share that with you to hope to inspire you to be like, it doesn't matter what happens to you, it's what happens through you and how you overcome it. Because if you get knocked down, like that famous quote says, if you can look up, you can get up. And that's what I chose to do in spite of everything else going on. I chose to look up. It didn't matter if I got up right away, but I at least chose to look up. Okay. So in 2009, I had spent my entire youth wanting to be in the NBA. I wanted to be a basketball player. I wanted to do really, really well at it. I was kind of the star of my 8th grade basketball team. I know a star. You guys are all probably laughing like 8th grade. Hoo. Right. But, dropping 30 points or whatever in a championship game. That was me. So when I got to the top high school in Oregon, actually our sophomore, junior, and senior year, we won the state championship at the highest level, which is 6A. So already the top basketball program in the entire state. Teammates went on to play in the NBA, stuff like that. So when I got cut in 2009, I just remember that conversation. And the coach didn't mean anything mean about it, but I didn't have the money to do AAU basketball. I didn't have all these extra opportunities to really get better at my IQ in basketball. I had the skills. I could work on my ball handling, shooting, and the coach pulled me out of one of the tryouts. And he's like, hey man, you're just not talented enough to keep up with these guys. So that was the first time where I was like, all right, this is what it feels like to get cut. And it hurt. It definitely hurt because I'd worked my butt off, right? I got cut my freshman year, made it to JV2 my sophomore year, only to warm the bench. And I just kept trying. Because I had this dream, but it just wasn't meant to be. In 2010, I remember sitting in the library. This is my senior year. And I had my track teammates from the previous years, I was never varsity. But the guys who were, went on to play football at University of Oregon, actually quite a few of them. So just imagine the speed that they had. A lot of them ran Division I track, won college championships, NCAA championships in Division I track. These are a lot of my teammates, right? And in 2010, I'm not supposed to hear this conversation, but I'm sitting in the library studying, and I hear the sprinters coach and the head track coach talking about who they can depend on in certain events. And this is the fall because track's in the spring. And I just remember hearing them talk. They start naming names of the seniors that they can count on to step up. I was a senior that year. I was in golf for track. My name wasn't mentioned at all. And it created this fire in me, this absolute fire. I'm like, I feel so dismissed right now. That's not their fault. They didn't know. They didn't know I was listening. They didn't even know my intention. So what did I do with that? I went on to run 3 varsity events that year. Actually got ranked into the top 8 400-meter runners in all of the Portland metro area. I went to all these invitationals, everything else. I went from a no-name athlete to all of a sudden starting 3 varsity events. I was in our final 4x4 relay just because like it inspired me. I looked up and I'm just like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to face this. I don't care what people think, count me out, but I'm not going to count myself out. Okay. So that was in high school. And then I got to Marquette, and there's a lot of different stories that I could focus on, but just for the sake of this shorter podcast, is that 2013, I was an RA, right? Room and board covered everything else. And there was a couple, if I want to call them this. Throughout this whole thing, I'm not going to be naming names just for the sake of confidentiality of these people, because they'll, if they ever hear this, they might know who they are. So I'm going to keep that safe. The companies I'm not going to name, everything else. But 2013, I get let go from being an RA. I misunderstood a procedure of someone I was friends with in that dorm had thought stuff was stolen. So following procedures, trying to figure out how to help this person, apparently there was another RA. I don't think he was totally out to get me, but I had also approached him about a situation where he had actually been like sleeping with one of the other residents, and it was bothering a lot of people on different floors, and it was a situation I had to navigate. And I called him out on it. It didn't really own up to it. And personally, I kind of feel like he was out to get me. And so used the opportunity of when I was trying to help someone else to kind of like write me up. And just like that, there goes 10 grand of room and board. Already, I kind of shared different financial struggles, and that's going to be kind of a future episode here of debt. But that took away 10 grand and put me in a very tough spot, right? So that was one situation that happened. Another situation that happened. So this is at my final senior internship, my spring of my senior year. And I, the owner of this company I'm working for wanted to do some networking with the president of Marquette at the time, kind of the health and wellness team for all their staff. And apparently what happened, I just remember this like it was yesterday. I had sent 2 emails, one to like the director of like kind of the healthcare of all of Marquette's staff, and then one to the president just to set a meeting. And apparently that was misconstrued by me trying to circumvent a process to the point that actually Marquette wanted to expel me after 4 years of putting time in and all these internships and jobs and everything else. They wanted to expel me for this mishap, for sending an email inappropriately. And so I had to write this whole letter, which I still don't understand why that happened today. But I just know I wrote a letter of like, hey, I apologize. I misjudged this situation, everything else. But also part of me in the back of my head, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm about to get expelled because of an email. I didn't even say anything bad. I was just trying to coordinate a time to meet. And I thought I was doing what I was doing for the president of the company for my internship. But yeah, Marquette actually almost kicked me out and expelled me. And many of you probably don't even know this story if you were my classmate at the time at Marquette. They ended up not. I ended up graduating magna cum laude, good GPA, all that kind of stuff. So but despite that though, it was so stressful. I'm like, are you serious right now? Everything I just put in, I'm about to just like lose like this and not even get my degree. This is 1 month before graduation. 1 month before graduation, they're about to expel me from my program. It didn't happen, but that was insane. All right, we're going to fast forward. So, well, not totally fast forward because that company that I had done that for, by the way, it was a free paid internship, so I wasn't making any money. They offered me a job, nothing crazy, like $30K coming out of school, right, to help them and stuff. I do 2 weeks of training. And at the end of those 2 weeks, president pulls me aside. It's like, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, my friend, but we lost some of our biggest clients, so we just don't have the money to pay you right now. And here I am sitting 2 weeks post-graduation with no professional network in Wisconsin, because I'm from Portland, Oregon. I'm sitting there like, all right, cool. I don't have a job. Everyone else is all set up, and now I don't have a job, and I need one because I'm the only one out here, and I got to pay rent. I got to do all this stuff. So that happened in 2015. And that's what actually catapulted my career into sales, because just through my ability to cold network with people. That's it. I've only relied on, that's why I'm the cold call coach. Cold networking, cold calling, just networking with people, get into kind of a staffing and recruiting position. That started my sales career, to the point where in 16 to 17, we had quite a transition in that company where the president and the founder of the company for 25 years and the VP of the entire sales team both got the boot in a matter of like 2 months. And just at that time, a lot of people were leaving, everything else. And I did the best I could to like stay there and do what I could. But I ended up getting demoted. down to kind of more of a BDR level. I was new, I was young, I was 23. I didn't understand how to navigate, the tumultuous landscape sometimes, especially in software. So I experienced a demotion. In 17 to 18, this was kind of the biggest eye-opening experience when you like put your heart and soul. Remember I had mentioned I was involved in a network marketing business, and this network marketing business, a lot of great people I've met over the years. I did it for like 8 or 9 years, but this first team that I was with, this first organization, it got to a point where things started to get a little, how do I want to say it? I don't want to say completely shady, but when you get a call and say, hey, if the corporation like calls you, like say this, I'm like, here I am trusting all these people that act like they know what they're doing in business. And now I'm going to get found out by the contracting company because of something you guys did to my volume or whatever. Like, hold on. Like, and I had a team at that time and everything else that I had built up that I chose to leave because I cannot operate with people that don't have integrity. Now, I know some of those people who are listening right now remember this story, and I just want you to know that I forgive you. I'm not holding any bitterness. You guys just did the best you knew at the time based off the information you were given. I know other people have released podcasts and what happened, all that type of stuff. It's like, if you take ownership for it and you say, I'm sorry, like I'm going to forgive you. And I forgive everyone that I've experienced these different situations with. That's the thing. Like forgiveness, whether they did wrong or not, forgiveness actually cleans your heart so that way you can keep going and pursuing what you need to pursue. Because the devil actually wants you to stay in that place. He wants you to play victim. He wants you to ask, oh, woe is me, all this type of stuff, because that's preventing you from actually moving forward into your God-given purpose, right? So that was network marketing. From 17 to 18, that whole situation happened. I had to leave that whole environment with my girlfriend, left the team and everything. I'm still great friends with those people today. That's the crazy part. But I'm going to fast forward here a little bit, just because this is when from 18 to 2023, is when I started to see some success, where I'm basically in my late 20s, making a couple $100,000 a year, feeling pretty good about everything that I've built up to that point. And that was in commercial insurance. Well, in 2023, I had just come off actually a pretty decent month. Probably I was like 70K in commission that month. So I'm sitting there like being like, all right, this is going really, really well. And now all of a sudden I'm being recruited by a very large company. Again, I'm not naming names of companies or people or anything. And people who are listening to this might know this story, but I'm just not going to name it for many of you here. But a very large company reaches out to me, asks me to head the enterprise team and build out their whole business to business strategy. So, on track to make another few $100,000 that year in insurance. I actually completely gave that up and just went for my shot to be with this company, only for within a month, them to fold that entire strategy and division. Not only to do that, but then a month later, after I'm just like, the floor just felt like it was just ripped out under me. And they gave me some options like, well, you can sell this or sell this. And I'm like, this is not what I was brought here for. And then all of a sudden, 1 month later, I get a call from them to get on this meeting. And now I'm here sitting on a performance plan a couple months in. And I just can't believe what's even happening. I was like, how did I go from doing this to taking a shot at like a dream job or position or career to all of a sudden having the floor taken under me? And now not just that, but add, salt to a wound or whatever. It's like, now I'm going to be put on a performance plan for this when there's nothing that I was brought here to sell in the first place. There's no infrastructure, anything. And I forgive these people. They were doing the best that they could at the time. But the craziest part about it is like all those people that were involved at that time are actually no longer with this company. So that was fascinating. That was quite the experience. Very stressed out, caused a lot of anxiety, caused a lot of stress. But at the same time, it took a couple weeks and I'm like, all right, let's think. How can I use this? How can I overcome this? Remember, it's feel it, pray into it, and then how can I use it? That's the system. It's the simple system. It's just, you can't spend so much time getting caught up in it because this final story was November 11th at 11:11 a.m. I can't even make this up. I have it saved on my phone exactly when I got this call. Okay. This is a very large company I was working for. They do mid 9 figures. Not going to name them. Not going to name the people. However, my manager and his manager, I was very good friends with, actually both veterans. I remember because it's 11/11. It's Veterans Day. I thanked them that morning for their service. About 2 hours later, I get a call from neither of them, from an executive that I never reported to, never really talked to much at all, called me and it's like, hey, is this Joe? Yeah, hey, I got HR on the line with me. Yeah, well, there's been some internal discussion, and we don't think you're a fit anymore for our company, so today's the last day. And I'm sitting there like, hold on a second. I just came here and within an entire year built up a brand new book from absolute zero to almost about 5 million in premium, on top of helping manage and train an office that was around 30 to 40 reps. We grew from about like 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 reps within like 9 months. And that's where we're at. And you're telling me, and I just had like a 500,000 premium month the previous month. And so I'm sitting there with all these thoughts in my head, and I asked this question. I'm like, I'm really confused because based off how my performance and metrics and everything else, but can you guys at least tell me why? No, we can't. We'll send you the paperwork. HR will reach out to you. Click. No exit interview. My termination letter said I'm no longer a fit. And I was bamboozled. I was like, what just happened? I don't even understand. I don't understand. And I had friends, and I had, attorney friends and everyone else being like, hey, you should go after it, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't feel that in my heart. I just didn't. I just felt like, what's the point of that? They kept a lot of commission I had stored up too. And again, I'm not bitter. Like, it took time to kind of just recognize what's the whole point of this story. But it was so significant that I'm like, it took 1 or 2 days. And then all of a sudden I'm back on my board. I'm drawing out what's the next step. So instead of pursuing attorneys or pursuing, hey, like, how could I, whatever, for this unjust termination I feel I just had, guess what I did? I poured my energy into my businesses and tripled my monthly income within 1 month of what I had from them. Because think of it, almost a 5 million book, average commission percentages, 3.5%, 4%. You do the math, yada, yada, yada. I tripled my income because I don't care what happens to me. It's how I respond. That is ice cold resilience. That's Mamba mentality. That's how you face the storm of whatever happens to you. And I just remember praying like, God, why has this happened? Why has this happened? Give me the answer. And I was at a networking event they hosted this AI dude that's worth like 130 million. And in networking in that room, I met one guy who was actually one of the top executives ever in print, worked with all these bougie brands, like all these yacht companies, Ferrari, Bentley, everything on their digital print. And he told me his story. And he asked me this question that gave me my total purpose. He was like, did you at least get what you needed? And I was like, boom, that's it. There's a story. Because remember the system. You have to feel it first. With all those cuts from teams or feeling like I was dismissed or I was demoted, I felt it. I took time to just absorb what just happened, because if I didn't feel it, I knew I couldn't get clarity through it, right? I did pray a lot because I didn't understand. I didn't understand why I would do all this stuff and like leave insurance, get completely the rug taken out from under me on the division I was hired to bring on, put on a performance plan, only for a year later to be almost in the same spot where I build this whole thing up again, pour into so much into this company, a company that I was rookie of the year in. I helped lay the framework for their entire enterprise division. That's the foundation for what they actually use now as their scaled model, right? Not only that, but also help build one of their largest sales offices and train them. All this stuff I did, I'm like, God, can you give me like why? Because it turned into a story. I am using this as a story to help each one of you understand it's not what happens to you. Some things you just can't control, but you need to eliminate the excuse of other people that are going to use that story to play victim. I don't care what's happened to you. I pray for you. That does not take away from the very real feelings that you have, because feeling victim is different than acting as a victim. You can feel like a victim in that moment in time, like what the heck happened? Like, I don't understand. But if you choose to stay in that, you're going to miss out on the deepest purpose God has for your life, because he's meant to use that so you can help someone else understand and overcome it. So hope this makes sense. Hope this helps. I love you guys so much. And I think the reason why I feel so strong and compelled is that there's so much that has been thrown at me, because I really believe the devil wants to knock you out when you have a dream for God's biggest purpose in your life. So go and grow. Hope you enjoyed this with another cup of Joe, and see you on the next one.
This is where winners learn to be great. Built for the cold, you say? That damn straight. the lessons, the love, the insights from above. Hope you take them and grow, even with another cup of Joe. Thank you for dropping in and listening to the show.